Hello everyone, welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Settle in, because every twist and whisper is coming up in today's video, and you won't want to miss it. Before we dive into the heart of the story, make sure you're subscribed and share this with that friend who loves a good celebrity mystery. Thank you for being here with us. Two of the industry's brightest stars, Alina and Alp Navruz, are once again at the center of attention. Even though they've always tried to keep whatever is between them behind the curtain, their recent moves have made that quiet space harder and harder to protect. The public's eyes have been locked on them since the day they first crossed paths on a high-profile project last year, where their professional chemistry was impossible to ignore. And now, that quiet spark is blazing into the spotlight for everyone to see. Last night, Alina posted a photo that stopped the scroll across thousands of phones. It was simple, elegant, and maddeningly suggestive, a tall, pristine bouquet of white orchids, petals glowing like moonlight, set against a minimal background. But it wasn't the flowers that sent the internet into a tailspin. Tucked into the bouquet was a neatly folded card with a line that felt both intimate and public: "We are beautiful together." Underneath, in that confident, unmistakable scrawl, were two initials, AN. Within minutes, speculation burst into full-blown conversation. Comment sections lit up like a marquee on premiere night. Fans connected the dots faster than any detective show, pointing at the initials and saying what everyone else was too cautious to say out loud: this bouquet didn't arrive by chance. The timing, the phrasing, the handwriting, everything pointed to Alp Navruz. Alina didn't tag anyone. There were no clues in the caption, no playful wink, no cryptic lyric, just the picture and that deliberate note. That silence worked like a megaphone. And then came the detail that pushed the story into overdrive. A murmured tip from someone tied to the florist suggested that the order was placed under a discreet alias, but the delivery instructions referenced a familiar schedule. Someone knew where Alina would be at the exact moment those flowers arrived. That someone, according to the whispers, was close enough to understand how to brighten the toughest day without making a spectacle out of it. Suddenly, the gesture felt less like a rumor and more like a private conversation that happened to be photographed. Reactions flooded in. "Say it proudly already. You look perfect together. This note says what they've been avoiding. They're a stunning match." The sentiment was overwhelmingly romantic, almost protective, as if fans were ready to defend whatever this is. In a digital heartbeat, the phrase "we are beautiful together" began appearing everywhere: captions, stories, edits, and tributes. People didn't just like the post, they took the message and made it their own, weaving it into their excitement for a pairing they've been quietly rooting for all along. It isn't the first time the rumor mill has turned for these two. Months back, Alina and Alp were spotted in Paris, yes, that Paris, where every street corner feels like a confession and every late-night walk looks like a movie scene. The sighting wasn't staged, it was more stolen than announced. A shared coffee near a tucked-away bakery. A lingering glance outside a gallery doorway. A laugh that cracked open a moment and made it seem like no one else existed. Even then, fans noticed how easily their energy aligned, both when the cameras were rolling and when there was no script to hide behind. That lingering story made it impossible not to connect last night's post to a pattern that's been quietly unfolding. Sources close to the pair say this orchid surprise wasn't random at all. Alp, who has a careful way of moving through public attention, planned the delivery to lift Alina's spirits while she navigates an intense stretch of filming. Long hours, demanding scenes, deadlines that barely leave room to breathe, he knew all of it. He also knew the exact kind of gesture that would hit the heart without creating chaos. White orchids, a symbol of admiration, grace, and support. The line on the card, not a declaration shouted from a stage, but a message that could mean exactly as much as they were ready to share. Those close to Alina say she mentioned to friends that the gesture meant more than a casual surprise. It was thoughtful, well-timed, and intricately personal, a reminder that someone was paying attention to the person behind the performances. She didn't crown the moment with an official statement. She didn't deny it either. She simply let the image live, which might be the boldest choice of all. As for Alp, he kept to his signature quiet. No press comment, no headline-chasing quote. If anything, the card said more than any interview could. Fans read between the lines and found a story that felt coherent, either the start of something new, or the continuation of something that never really ended. And that is exactly where the frenzy lives, in the space between what's undeniable and what's still unspoken. As the conversation spread, one phrase rose above the noise. "We are beautiful together." It slipped from caption to caption and became a kind of chorus the audience sang back to them. People talked about timing. About courage. About how rare it is to see genuine affection slip past the walls of image management. And still, Alina and Alp stayed measured, choosing their moments, allowing the gesture to do the talking without pointing fingers or launching confessions. It's worth remembering how often they've described their connection as friendship, as two professionals who respect each other's craft and navigate the same demanding landscape. There's truth in that, and there's also the reality that sometimes friendship is the doorway and sometimes it's the destination. What last night's photo suggests, what Paris suggested, what candid interviews and shared laughter have suggested, is that there might be a deeper thread running through it all. Not a spectacle, not a stunt, but a careful, private tie they've protected from being picked apart. Fans, of course, can't help themselves. They want the moment when two people they admire step into the light together and say, "Here it is." They want red carpets and joint photos, a story that validates the hints and hunches. But there's also a tenderness in the way the audience has responded this time. The message wasn't shouted, it was handwritten. The gesture wasn't ostentatious, it was elegant and specific. And that has made people patient, intrigued, and invested in what might come next. Industry insiders have been watching, too. They talk about how deliberately the pair balances their public and private worlds, how they've learned to move around noise rather than through it. They recognize the difference between publicity and presence. This was presence. A carefully chosen floral symbol, a single sentence with 1,000 echoes, and initials that leave just enough room for interpretation while clearly pointing toward one person. If you look back over the last year, the pattern becomes clearer. Shared events where they never overplayed their proximity but somehow always found the same camera frame. Interviews where a compliment landed with a weight that felt a little too real to be rehearsed. A look that lingered a fraction of a second longer than necessary. These moments don't happen in isolation. They line up, and together, they write a softer version of a love story, one that doesn't beg for attention but earns it anyway. So what happens next? That's the question bouncing around every group chat and comment thread right now. Will Alina and Alp finally be photographed together again, not by accident, but by choice? Will they confirm what so many already believe, or keep their quiet promise and protect the boundary they've held for this long? There's a special kind of power in letting time reveal the answers. And there's a thrill in not knowing, in watching a romance move at its own pace rather than on the schedule of an impatient audience. For now, what we do know is simple. A beautiful bouquet arrived. A note was written. A name wasn't said, and yet 1,000,000 people heard it anyway. The phrase that started as a private sentiment has become a public refrain, propelled by admiration and curiosity. Whether this is the beginning of something official or the next chapter in a connection that's been quietly unfolding, last night's moment pulled Alina Boz and Alp Navras back into the spotlight with grace instead of spectacle. The industry is buzzing, and the audience is listening. You can feel the temperature rise around them, not with scandal, but with the possibility of something honest and rare. And that kind of heat doesn't fade quickly. It sticks around, it changes the air, it makes every next move feel like a reveal. We'll be watching with you. We'll be paying attention to the subtle details and the unmistakable signals. Will we see them side by side at an event, letting their presence answer the question once and for all? Or will they keep trusting the quiet language they've built, the flowers, the timing, the shared glances, and allow this story to stay theirs for a little longer? Time, as always, will tell. But one thing is certain. That tender, deliberate surprise has made them the conversation again, not because of a headline, but because of a feeling that people recognized immediately. And in a world crowded with noise, that kind of feeling is the rarest and most powerful thing of all. That's all for today's video from Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe and share. Your support keeps us chasing the stories you love. We'll be back soon with more, and until then, keep your notifications on and your eyes open. See you next time.